Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic Known Classics. This is episode number 2092 in Doubleshot 1986. And speaking of 1986, we actually have a book that came out that year. Yes, we have the first volume of Booster Gold, Volume 1, Big Fall. This actually issues from the first volume Booster Gold released back in the 80s. Yep, released back in the 80s. Very short run for Booster Gold. And now I've already reviewed another trade of the collected issue from this run. This trade right here, which is known as Futures Lost. Yeah, and this actually is the first trade. I was initially thinking of getting this physical version, but I saw it was here. I figured, get it. Alright, this book collects the first 12 issues of this run from 1986 to about 1988. Though he was also featured in Justice League International at this point in time. We have Booster Gold Volume 1, The Big Fall. Yes, Dan Jurgens does the writing here. I believe he does the artwork too, if I'm not mistaken. He does the artwork too. They also have credit here, Mike DiCarlo as the inker. The collection artwork is now by Dan Jurgens, Norb Ramp, who is no work with Tony Estino, and Hi-Fi. Like I said, pretty much collect the first 12 issues of this 25-issue run. Now, this book does contain also an introduction by Dan Jurgens on basically kind of the basis for the creation of Booster Gold, which I actually kind of partially heard about this from Dan Jurgens himself. Yeah, where basically this introduction page basically explains like the basis for the creation of the character, which is so cool. And then here's the first appearance. Him fighting a bad guy in his trademark costume, which mostly to date has had very little alterations to it. I think like aside from the fact on the cover, looks like he has a cape, which since removed, mostly, but this outfit is mostly intact up until fairly recently. It's pretty much the same outfit. The only slight alteration ever made to this outfit was actually during the Justice League International run. Of course, also by Dan Jurgens. He has slight it's 1 or 2 times the costume has been updated. The first time it was updated was actually during Justice League America. It was after his battle with Doomsday. They had this big bulky armor, and then when he popped up in Superman, he went back to the classic look that Dan Jurgens gave back in the 80s, which of course Dan Jurgens also wrote the issue as well. And in my personal opinion, I think this is probably one of Dan Jurgens' personal favorite creations. Because usually when comic fans think of Dan Jurgens, there's usually 2 characters on the mind. Booster Gold and Doomsday. He has to create some other characters for DC Comics, but these 2 are his most prominent characters. And as for Booster Gold, I'll talk more about him later, like what he's done since this book wrapped up. Most of this book, we have his introduction. We have him with also his introduction to Skeets, his robot sidekick he basically has throughout all of his adventures. And fighting this guy called Blackguard for a few issues. Him also have a company, and the fact he's also rich. And they say mostly he's in Gotham City in the future. He does kind of suit me into issue 9, where he goes with the present. But these issues are so fun to read. They're long per se, because it's the 80s. The books were slightly longer than today. But love these books. They're really good. Like, here's Booster in his cape that he had, which has since been removed. Yes, I think Jurgens must have realized the cape was too much, so he had Booster stop wearing it. But a lot of his early appearances, he did wear a cape. Like here, you have him not wearing the cape. But he did sometimes he would basically, for public appearances, he would wear the cape, but a lot of times he wouldn't. Probably because basically the cape was very necessary. But yes, really fun set of 6-ish. By the way, in case you're curious though, yes, it does count lead superheroes for like 1 issue in the first 12. Yep. But that's a really interesting idea of this book. Just a really fun book to read. I'm going to give the book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Final thoughts on this run from Booster Gold. Because now I've pretty much reviewed, like, not exactly everything to talk about the whole run, but it is definitely a really good run. Now, of course, the book did end during, in story and because of Millennium. According to Dan Jurgens himself, he says the reason the book ended, this of course is 80s, basically, when comics sold at newsstands. Apparently, according to him, the sales in stores were great. It's the sales on newsstands, and that was the reason the book got axed. After only 25 issues, managed to last one issue longer than Blue Beetle. And it's something that take or become basically Booster Gold's best friend. And pretty much in a way, mostly what he's been doing since this book wrapped up. Let's see, he popped up in Justice League. He, of course, was appearing in this book when the book was being published. I think that book started in 1987. It was like during this book's being published. And then like after Millennium, the book got axed, and he was mostly featured Justice League. Well, Justice League International, Justice League America. He was probably featured in the book for a long period of time. And he, of course, made occasional appearances in the book, mostly in Superman because Dan Jurgens. And he was also part of the Extreme Justice group. That was a group started by Captain Adam. He was in disgruntled with some of the stuff going on in the main book at the time. And let's see, what else? Mostly a lot of guest star spots for him. He would never actually join the Justice League. Yes, for some reason, the writers of JLA, whoever wrote the book, would not have in the book for some reason. Was he featured in the book by Brian Meltzer? Nope. Grant McDuffie? Nope. Never Justice. As soon as the Justice League America book wrapped up, he was never featured in Justice League ever again. The only time he's featured part of the Justice League, it was part of a reunion of Justice League International. A couple times. One was I Can't Believe It's Not a Justice League miniseries done by, I believe, by Keith Gibbs and Matias, and the other being in a storyline from JLA Confidential. And that was pretty much it, his association with the Justice League. Oh, he did, almost forgot, he did briefly quit Justice League to form the corporation, or the conglomerate, from the page of Justice League, which I had previously reviewed. But Booster Gold's a great character. I will review in a future Comic Corner the first trade the collect issues from a second volume for his series. This second volume did last longer than the first volume by 22 issues. Yeah, it was probably more financially successful because the other reason the book was launched because of his feature from 52. All right, next up we have is Demon Knights Volume 2 Avalon Trap. Yes, mostly put, like, of course, it's still written by Paul Cornell and Dustin McNeves. First, we started with various wild things happen. Like, we have a romantic scene of Madame Xanadu sleeping with Jason Blood, and then him turning into Etrigan Demon. And then, of course, basically, her not liking him too much, despite the fact of both sleeping with her. And because that he dare kind of harm her, she slapped him and says, "You'll never touch me ever again. Jason, I love Jason, not you." That's basically her. And a lot of the rest of the book is simply Vandal Savage on a pirate ship. Yes, Vandal Savage. Yeah, I thought that was so fun. Yes, Vandal Savage. One of DC's premier suit villains and probably the oldest one by age in the whole entire universe, DC Comics. And have him be driving a pirate ship, which is so fun. It's like basically it's like reading a version of Assassin's Creed 3, where you have a character basically driving, using the helm of a ship, which is so fun. Yep, pure fun. Still, the book is still pure fun. And I'm going to give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. I will be reviewing the final trade in the future, which, of course, what happened with the book, from what I heard, the Priest book was canceled. I'll kind of do it now. Low sales. But I'll basically kind of theorize of why people weren't buying at the time. But Demon Knights, wow, this book is just so freaking good. Of course, the lineup is still Etrigan Demon, Jason Blood, Madame Xanadu, Vandal Savage, the Shining Knight, the female version from the Grant Morrison era. She's in this book too. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, that's it for particular review. Next up is going to be Is the Ron Goes Dungeon. Again, next video. Bye.